Afghanistan doesn't seem to see the light of peace anytime soon. The government of Afghanistan under Ashraf Ghani has made its position very clear on the Taliban prisoners issue. Sadiq Siddiqui, Afghanistan government's official spokesperson, told WION that the release will be discussed only when negotiations begin with the Taliban. The Afghanistan government also confirmed that an official team was at Doha at the request of United States and Qatar. The government of Afghanistan also accused Taliban of misrepresenting the peace deal. Ashraf Ghani's office also acknowledged that a 6-member delegation team is now in Doha at the request of the United States and Qatar. However, the government has gone on record and has said that the release of prisoners can be negotiated only after talks with the Taliban begin. But Taliban continued to take a counter stand. They have maintained that neither will they meet nor will they hold talks with the Afghanistan government unless Afghanistan is ready to release its prisoners. The official spokesperson of Taliban, Suhail Shaheen, tweeted saying that Taliban will only meet with those in charge of prisoners or prisoners' release and no other official or delegation that is waiting in Doha. Just 3 days ago, after the signing of landmark peace deal accord, Taliban ended its peace truce with government of Afghanistan. The statement by Taliban maintained that it would not attack any foreign troop, but called for attack against government in Kabul. In a letter addressed to the heads of provinces in the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan, Mullah Abdul Ghani Baradar, who asked workers to wait for its orders to carry out attacks against Kabul. The peace deal called for stability in Afghanistan, and on Afghan soil, political rivals are pitted against each other over the issue of prisoners primarily. While Baradar has demanded the release of 5,000 Islamic Emirate prisoners, Ghani has accused Taliban of misrepresentation and refused to release the said prisoners. We are now joined by our Afghanistan correspondent, Mustafa Kazmi. Mustafa, welcome to WION. This is the first roadblock, really, in the Afghanistan peace deal, isn't it? Just days ago, United States signed a peace deal with the Taliban. One of the clauses, we are being told, is that the Afghan government was to release 5,000 Talibani prisoners, but the Afghanistan government has gone on record saying that they made no commitment in releasing these prisoners.
Yes, the Afghan President Ashraf Ghani, immediately after the peace agreement was signed between the United States and the Taliban in Doha, came on stage and officially said that there is no guarantee of releasing 5,000 Taliban prisoners from Afghan prisons. And on the other hand, the Taliban spokesperson, Suhail Shaheen, in a tweet, as well as in a message sent by their other spokespersons on WhatsApp to journalists, said that they did not and will not meet anybody from the Afghan government unless they have a meeting with the officials from Afghanistan's prison and detention centers officials, so that they can discuss the release of 6,000 prisoners, which 5,000 of them are the Taliban prisoners, and 1,000 they claim to have taken prison from people working either or associated in one way or other with the Afghan government. And they have said that they want these 6,000 prisoners to be released or exchanged before the intro talks with the Afghan government and the Taliban start. Now, on the other hand, the Afghan National Security Advisor, Mr. Mohib, on a live debate in Afghanistan's national TV, said that the Taliban do not have 1,000 prisoners with them currently, and since the past 8 or 7 months, they have had several clearance operations across Afghanistan, which they say they have broken into pretty much all of Taliban prisons, and they have released all government prisoners from them. According to the National Security Advisor, Mr. Mohib, he said that there is not even 100 prisoners with the Taliban at this moment. And just to complete the 1,000 figure so they can go ahead and take their 5,000 prisoners in exchange for that, the Taliban have started taking hostage passengers who travel from Kabul to other provinces by stopping the buses and taking down all of the passengers, regardless of whoever they work for.
Right, but Mustafa, the big question is, you've been telling us and we've been getting reports that violence has resumed already. It's been just days that the peace deal that was to bring peace in Afghanistan, a region that has been torn and ripped apart by war for over 2 decades now, the days after that, the violence has resumed. So, is this peace deal is between the United States and the Taliban, but what about the peace in the entire country of Afghanistan if the Taliban and the Afghan government are not going to talk?
Back in the 2017, President Ghani came on the record and said that the Afghan government is on a state of de facto war with over 20 terrorist groups inside Afghanistan, most of them coming and going back forth around the Afghan borders. The Taliban is only one of the 20 terrorist groups that the Afghan government now thinks that there might be a peace with them after the agreement was signed between the Taliban and the United States in Doha. In the 3 days since Saturday that the peace deal between the United States and the Taliban were signed, there were several attacks across Afghanistan, killing and wounding several Afghans, and most of them, over 90% of them, all civilians. This is in the light of the agreement signed. But the Afghan people, the Afghan public do maintain that the Afghan government is not fighting the Taliban alone. It is 19 other, or more than that, other terrorist groups that are actively fighting the Afghan government and the Afghan civilians in Afghanistan and are trying to disrupt the security. So we have one problem solved, but we have 19 other terrorist groups that need to be taken care of as well.
Mustafa Kazmi, thank you so much for joining us on WION and sharing with us your insights on the developments days after the signing of the historic Afghan peace deal.